This is Comet Picks by the Glick.
Hey, and I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason Glick, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right, John. It's really goddamn hot here in Southern California right
Yeah,
now.
it's like Hades, you know. Ha ha ha. I saw some temperatures on Wonderground today. I saw 111 in Paris.
Uh,
Not Paris, France. Paris, California.
which is far more scenic at
Yeah,
any rate. And
absolutely.
yes, and the hell analogy is appropriate given what I'm going to be talking about for this podcast.
Oh, excellent. What are you going to be talking about?
Going to be talking about pure evil here, or at least pure evil as DC Comics defines it. So, because I up until earlier this week, I didn't have any idea what what I was going to talk about until I remembered that hey, I pre-ordered their latest crossover hardcover collection of their latest crossover event, Forever Evil. It's like written by mainstay Jeff Johns and artist David Finch, and illustrated by artist David Finch. It basically sprung out of the whole Villains Month event from September of last year, when DC basically sprung the stories out of their Trinity War crossover between the three Justice League titles, it's like I just thought, okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, with DC crossovers, I mean, most of them they don't have the same kind of this is part of the overall narrative of the DC universe that Marvel's crossovers tend to have. I mean, with Marvel, everything from from House of M through Siege, at least it wasn't a very say very well planned out or coherent narrative, but it was still a narrative nonetheless, in the sense that things followed from one crossover event to the next, and they've also continued to do that with these events they've done since Avengers X-Men, then Age of Ultron, then Infinity. And now we've got Original Sin, and then then the next one, which good God, they've got so many coming out next. Then there's Time Runs Out, there's Spider-Verse, there's Axis. So there you go. I mean, Marvel's problem right now is they got a surplus of events that tend to define their universe. DC's problem is that they really don't have any. But the main reason I wanted to pick up Forever Evil is because of certain moves they've been making with regards to Lex Luthor, in the sense that Luthor is now a member of the Justice League, which he's done through he did this through his typical I want to be a hero and I'm going to blackmail Batman in order to do it, because that's how Luthor rolls. It's like he sees himself as the hero that mankind needs in order to save them from the menace of the superhumans, who are just going to roll over all the ordinary people. But he has no understanding of the self-sacrifice that the heroes engage in order to be that renders them heroes beyond their superpowers. So I'm kind of interested in hearing about that story, and that's one of the main reasons I picked up Forever Evil, because I was looking forward to seeing Luthor getting a lot of good anti-hero action like in this crossover event. I got some of that here. I mean, it starts off. There's a great scene with some in-caption narration from Johns about how Luthor talks about the time he rescued his sister's kitten who had crawled up a tree, and then the kitten scratches him because it was so freaked out by being up a tree. And then Luthor was so incensed by this action that he throws the kitten in the river, and he's just pissed because I was only trying to save it. That's a nice start to it, and shows you just Luther's it perfectly encapsulates Luther's views on heroism, something that that deserves reward, not something that should be done without thought of it in the first place. And then he goes on to subtly blackmail the leader of Cord Industries to hand over his hand over his company before Luther ruins the life of his family, because hey, he's still Luther after all. And then and but the his the interaction is interrupted by a mysterious event that blacks out Metropolis, and then we find out that you've got all of these you've got these mysterious action characters that are going around causing trouble throughout Gotham, Metropolis, Keystone City. They're releasing they're opening up Arkham City. They're breaking all the villains out of the Iron Heights prisons, and it's bad. It's like, because it turns out that these people who are going around freeing all the villains, it's none other than the Crime Syndicate. Now, if you're with the Crime Syndicate, you should know that they are back in the pre-reboot days of the DC universe, and even beyond that, they are the evil versions of the heroes from that reside on Earth 2, where all the villains, all the heroes are villains and the villains are heroes, with Lex Luthor being their greatest hero of all. Grant Morrison did a great graphic novel with Frank Whitley years ago during his JLA run that harped upon this premise, and it was great, not only because of the simple fact that that it explored this flip side of heroes and villains, but also because Morrison envisioned a world where the roles of heroes and villains weren't just reversed, but the roles of their stories worked differently as well. Basically, this is a story where in the end, evil always triumphed, where no matter what the good guys did, when the Justice League went over to try and save this world, everything they did just didn't work, because it resulted in a worse world, because that was how this universe worked. It was this place that thrived on evil, and where even when Batman managed to save his father from certain death, it only led him to turn Gotham City into a police state. That's the kind of place we're dealing with right there. Johns isn't he's never been as imaginative as a writer, compared to Grant Morrison, in terms of that he doesn't think that far outside the box, but he is still really good at looking at all the toys inside the box and finding interesting things to do with them. This isn't one of his better efforts, because a lot of it does feel like you can feel the plot wheels grinding as the Justice Gang, as the Crime Syndicate, makes their play for taking over the world, and they're being gratuitously nasty through to all the heroes and even the villains. It's set the tone for their reign and things like that. But sorry, two established things here. You got Crime Syndicate is made up of Ultraman, who is Superman's evil converse, Superwoman, who is ostensibly Wonder Woman's evil counterpart, except that she's actually evil Lois Lane instead, which is actually still kind of cool. You've got Owlman, who's Batman's evil counterpart, except he's not evil Bruce Wayne. He's evil Thomas Wayne Jr., which if you've read Scott Snyder's City of Owls storyline, you'll know who I'm talking about there. You've also got Evil Flash, Johnny Quick, like Atomica, who is the evil Atom, and Grid, who is Cyclops, who is Cyborg. Basically, he's like all the machine parts of Cyborg without the human element, and also Power Ring, who is who is Hal Jordan, actually, of that universe. Except their Hal Jordan, instead of being someone with no fear, he is a complete coward, which is actually kind of clever, considering that's yeah, like I said, that's kind of thing how John's rolls. So he can look at the how these characters like this is the kind of imagination that he has, and it actually works pretty well. I mean, like actually does get some good mileage out of Power Wings cowardice right here, and it is perversely entertaining to show for him to show us a version of Hal Jordan that is like that subject to fear and cowardice, and making rash actions like murdering like some of Flash's rogues just on a whim because he's scared that they're going to make the first move. It's even more fun when Sinestro shows up halfway through the story and then starts to throw down with them. It's like that was kind of clever, but also Sinestro kind of underlines like parts of the way the story doesn't quite work in the way that I like, because with Sinestro in John's Green Lantern run, he was he was the bad guy. I mean, he was it's like he led the Sinestro Corps in some of its most in some of its in the with some of the best stories from the run, but also the Sinestro also believed that in what the Green Lantern Corps was doing, but he also knew that they weren't going to that they would never take the steps necessary in order to protect the galaxy without without him or without his corps around in order to push them to that next level. I mean, it wasn't until the Sinestro Corps attacked that the Green Lanterns removed the restrictions on applying lethal force. It's like to their to using their ring powers, and so in that sense, Sinestro was kind of like a lawful evil kind of guy in the sense that he's like it's like he's completely ruthless, but he still acts by a code, and it's like so and even then you can understand like how he when he was actually brought back into the Green Lantern Corps, but 2/3 of the way through John's run, it's like it actually made a certain sense, and it was just a really cool twist right there. With Luthor in in Forever Evil, we're dealing with the whole premise is like yes, you've got a bunch of bad guys. I mean, Luthor forms his own kind of injustice gang with his own malformed clone of Superman named Bizarro, of course. It's like Captain Cold, Black Manta, Black Adam, and Sinestro. It's like, and also with Batman and Catwoman along for the ride to make sure they don't do anything too bad. It's a matter of just pitting bad guys against even worse guys to make the bad guys seem just slightly more heroic than usual right here. And it's also kind of telling that all the bad guys here are characters that Johns has worked with in the past, and that that are capable of acting heroic, like when the need should arise. And but I mean the story itself is kind of like I said, you can hear the plot gears grinding through a lot of this stuff, like how the crime syndicate makes their move. They take over the world. They start doing bad, like real bad things to show how evil they are, how their rule is not to be challenged. Then Luthor starts forming his gang. And Batman shows up because he's the only member of the Justice League to make it out of the crisis that consumed them before all this started happening. And it's and then they just start going through the motions to start building resistance, finding a way to take out the crime syndicate, and also the crime syndicate bickers amongst themselves, angst about the evil. It's like the evil thing that tore apart their universe and whatnot. See, and I will say that there is some real clever parts here. I mean, I liked Bizarro. It's like I kind of wish that he's, even if he is kind of like he is only around to make Luthor seem more sympathetic. I like the idea of Ultraman aside from being evil Superman, he was a being who like snorts kryptonite in order to become stronger and is weakened by the rays of the sun. I Let's see. There's also the the revelation of Nightwing's secret identity to the world and how that pans out. And when Batman busts out the Sinestro Corpse ring, and that didn't pan out that was an incredibly awesome panel, but it didn't last nearly as long as I was expecting it to. And and also, this is a job for Lex Luthor. Yeah, truly great. And Luthor's way, the way Luthor manages to quote unquote save the day, like by taking out the real bad guy, like of the crime syndicate. That was it was cool, even though I kind of admit that the logic behind that still kind of baffles me just a tad. It's cool. It just requires a little bit of suspension of disbelief in order to make it work. And and there's also some bits at the end where Luthor saves the day by performing emergency surgery on Superman. His final stamp of approval for Atomica. His explanation that the records for all the people who teamed up with him have been cleared, and their response to that was cute. It's like there's lots of little things in here that I liked, and a lot of stuff that just kind of felt like, yeah, we're just grinding through to get to the next major plot point. And I generally like the art from David Finch, even though it's like it's a really really detailed and in the sense that what you expect from most superhero comics these days. But I don't know, there wasn't a lot of stuff that made me go, wow, that was really cool. It's just it's really competent. It's a little above average, but I don't know, nothing I can really get too passionate about in the end. And and also DC, to their credit, is trying to at least mimic Marvel's. Now this is part of the narrative of the DC universe in the sense that the last dozen or so pages of this collection, the story parts of this collection, not the variant cover gallery, are just lots of setups for storylines that are going to keep coming. I mean, good God! I mean, it's just like anyone who bitched about the multiple endings that the Return of the King had. I mean, you're gonna hate this right here, because like I said, the last several pages are just nothing but epilogue for incoming story after epilogue for incoming story. I mean, some of this stuff does look interesting. Like I said, clearly sets up the whole Luthor blackmails Batman into becoming a member of the Justice League thing that I want to read about. But then you've also got stuff involving the return of a iconic DC villain or a couple of iconic DC villains from one universe to another. And that I read this and I'm kind of like, whatever. But also I also feel the volume suffers because it doesn't quite stand on its own. I mean, this Forever Evil directly follows on from Trinity War, and I figured, okay, I knew that. I mean, you got this storyline where you get the DC heroes fight amongst each other, and then the bad guys show up at the last minute. I don't need to bother with that. So I'm thinking, read this, and I think, yeah, maybe some context for this would have been nice. But then as I read this, I got the feeling that, okay, I think Johns is trying the same trick here that he did in Blackest Night, where he had the core story in the crossover itself, but then he told all the stuff that went on in between the issues in Green Lantern as well. While Blackest Night read pretty well by itself, you read it together with the Green Lantern tie-in issues, and it's like, okay, this is how this is how it should have been advertised from the beginning, because it reads a lot better. Reading those issues, in between pages of the issues of the crossover. The way Amazon ships things, I wasn't able to get the Justice League tie-in issues for this event, before I recorded this. But, well, I don't know. It's like Forever Evil doesn't stand on its own the way Blackest Night did. And if I do wind up picking up the Forever Evil tie-in issues, which are published under the aegis of Forever Heroes, then well, I don't know. I'll probably have to wait till the convention, because hey, it's like Forever Evil as a standalone event, it's better than most by not being terrible, by being pretty coherent and having some pretty clever moments strewn throughout. It does, however, feel more of a very plot grindy in its execution, and very mechanical in its efforts to set up, like future events in the DC universe. Does it make me really compelled to read about them in the way that Marvel does? No, not really. So overall, Forever Evil, if you've been hoping that this would be the crossover that would get you on board the ongoing narrative of the DC universe, well, probably not gonna happen here. But overall, okay for what it is. John, any thoughts on these ramblings?
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if I'm gonna run out and read it based on your description, but
As well, I hope you shouldn't.
so, although there are some intriguing concepts in there, but yeah, I'm probably gonna pass on this one.
Yeah, like I said, it's better than most crossover events by simply not being terrible.
Yeah, not being terrible.
But we deserve better than that, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, not terrible. Yeah, we need to be a little bit above that. That's like, well, a D plus. Is there such a thing? Anyway, it's still pretty bad. So anyway.
Okay, well, that's pretty much it for this week, now.
Anything planned for the next podcast?
Well, next time we may be going back to something I've talked about in the past, because by the time everyone listens to this, the final volume of Bokurano should be in my hands. So I may be going back to unless something really spectacular pops up in the meantime, I'll probably be going back from the original podcast I did about that series to talk about the finale. It's like after God knows how 4 or 5 years it's been since I talked about it the first time. And have written about just about every single volume in the intervening years. So,
all right. Well, we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Click.
Laters.
Bye.